Gaming news today is all about the deep dive. We've got a brand new 14-minute deep dive into Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but there's also a 10-minute deep dive into LEGO Horizon Adventures, and the S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 preload is live, and this game is looking like it's going to be huge. We'll do a little bit of a comparison for you based on just how much install space you're going to need if you're going to be diving into S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. Great time of the year, by the way, with Indiana Jones, LEGO Horizon, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. We got a lot coming, as well as DLC coming to Stellar Blade. We'll look at the latest announcement trailer from them. We still don't have details on all of the info about that DLC. And, of course, I've got more games for your wish list and your radar. Now, if you like this kind of content, be sure to hit subscribe, the bell button, and the like button. And we would love to see more of you jumping into the membership so you can come to the extra content as well as streams on Friday night with my wife and the community. So click join, pick the $6 Member Plus tier, and you get into all that extra content. It supports me directly as well. So let's just dive in here. The Indiana Jones and the Great Circle gameplay deep dive. So this went live yesterday, and funny enough, this trailer is now not just on Xbox and Bethesda's YouTube channel, they put it on the PlayStation YouTube channel. This is sort of an interesting turn of events with the Switch, with Xbox putting their games in more places, including PlayStation, and some games also going to Nintendo. Now, I'm still iffy on elements of this game in first-person perspective. The shooting, the punching, and the whip gameplay specifically, I just haven't been that impressed up to now. But I want to give the good and the bad from this deep dive, because I actually think the good is starting to outweigh some of my concerns with the combat. So let me just list some of the good things that I think come from this deep dive. First and foremost, the tone. Troy Baker absolutely captures the essence of Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones, but just everything about the way they've got this set up with the music and the settings and the characters and even just the conversations. I think the tone of Indiana Jones and the movies has been captured rather well. The environments, I think, really add to this. Also, if you're in some of the settings when you're in like a college or a museum, or here, you know, escaping a tomb. I'm a little concerned the sand would bury you and not lift you, but it's a video game after all. And I just think these areas, the use of lighting, the use of texture, this actually is, I think, a very good-looking game, which is interesting to see, you know, their use of lighting and textures. Are they going to be doing a PS5 Pro Enhanced patch and ray tracing and some of the other things that we might see there? So they're nailing the tone, they're nailing the environments, okay? The first-person perspective, I think, for some of the interactions is actually quite good. Picking things up and looking at them, using the UI and your notes and your discoveries, you'll see that throughout this trailer. I think that's another good element of just making you feel like Indiana Jones. With respect to if you find a clue or you find a new relic or something to that effect. So all of that's good, and all of that is stuff that I am hoping feels good and is enjoyable. But let's just talk about some of the bad that still continues to show up. We had previews of this game like a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that we looked at. And I just continue to feel like the combat looks very awkward and very choppy. The punching sounds good and at times looks good, but then there's other times where the punching looks a little bit awkward. The interacting with the things around you, the transitions into third person when you're like climbing a wall or swinging with your whip, it just doesn't look great. Now, sometimes all of that can fade away when you're actually playing the game. It can look and feel differently when you're not touching the controller and you're watching somebody else play. But I do think elements of that, I think, are a little awkward and a little choppy. Also, just interacting with items for combat and even for the puzzles, like looking around and looking at the ground and picking up a shovel and things like that. It, again, I think just lacks a fluidity and a flow, and I continue to feel like I wish this game would have been third person. And I know I've seen some people say, well, everybody was worried it was going to be just like Uncharted, And now that it's not like Uncharted, everybody's complaining that it's not like Uncharted. I didn't want it to be like Uncharted. I just think action-adventure games where you're exploring, getting in fistfights, and climbing, I just think historically those games are third person, whether it's a Batman game or an Assassin's Creed game or a Tomb Raider or an Uncharted. All of these are games where you're doing lots of climbing and swinging and punching. And I do feel like that type of combat, those type of environmental interactions, they just tend to feel better in third person. I said similar things about Avowed when we saw Avowed gameplay, and the melee combat just looks a little funny and feels a little funny. So I hope that the good continues to outweigh the bad here. Indiana Jones isn't really a game that I think was going to get a ton of attention for me to begin with, but I grew up with these movies, and so I want it to do well, and I want it to be a good experience. And I will be checking this out on my Xbox Series X when it lands. It's been confirmed to be at 60 FPS, so I have no real reason to skip it there. And then we'll obviously monitor and see if and when they confirm or announce anything with respect to PS5 Pro enhancements. So that was the deep dive. That was my thoughts on it, and that was just something that they put together yesterday. Be sure to check that out, and be sure to stick around on the live show to discuss that with me. What are your thoughts on Indiana Jones? But it wasn't the only game to get a deep dive. PlayStation published a blog and also put out this video on the latest Horizon game, Lego Horizon, and just talking with the devs. You'll see some clips interspersed here of them talking about it. Some are theorizing that this clearly points to new Lego sets that will be coming based on the robots from Horizon. I honestly think that's a pretty safe bet. And some of that's because they did confirm that every object in Lego Horizon is made with real Lego bricks. So if you wanted to recreate anything that you see, you can. Now, I don't think that's a new thing. I'm pretty sure all of the Lego games have always used actual, genuine Lego pieces. It's always kind of fun when I would be playing Skywalker Saga with my son. We would recognize certain pieces and parts from a set that maybe we were just recently building. They got me C-3PO for my birthday, so we've been building that together in the living room at the card table, and it's just neat to see those pieces in the game. And so I'm really struck, though, in this trailer, in this video, just how good they've made a Lego game look. I think specifically with the lighting and the shadows, you don't typically expect to see that level of detail in a Lego game. I feel like Skywalker Saga looked very good, but this looks like they've really, really increased the sense of just everything looking crisp and shiny, and again, the use of light and shadows. So I think that is something that has really stepped up their game, along with working with Guerrilla. Now, a lot of the video is just marketing fluff about they're super excited to be collaborating, and that's great. I think that's exciting, but that doesn't do a whole lot for me as the player, because eventually, though, they give you a glimpse into the world design, the machine design, and even the encounters and what those fights are going to look like. And it actually looks like it's going to be a bit more than just a button mash Lego experience romp. It looks like there's actually going to be some decent mechanics and some decent action in this game. Now, when you get up close to some of the robots in this trailer, like the Thunderjaw and the Crab Walker, I think you really get to see why the robot design of Horizon has just worked so well with Lego, because they sort of look like Legos. Like the Tall Neck is one of my favorite Lego sets that I have, because it just is so faithful to the Tall Neck from Horizon. And I'm trying to skip ahead here so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Here's where they start talking about the actual design of the robots and the machines, and you do get to see some of these mechanics playing out in the fights. And I do think this is just a very happy marriage between Horizon and Lego. Like, it's not surprising that Lego approached Guerrilla and PlayStation and said, hey, we really want to do this, because if you look at how some of these machines are turning out, they look awesome. They look exactly kind of how they do in the game, and yet they're Legos. And I think there's going to be a bunch of Lego sets, to be quite honest, that will come from this, because it does pair so well. Now, they also let you in this game customize your character. There's going to be customization of your village. I think that's right in line with the Lego game, to be able to change some of those things out. And when it comes to the co-op gameplay, Lego Horizon Adventures co-op gameplay will allow you to play both online and local, and they really said they wanted that to be a part of how the game felt. It really makes you wonder if we're ever going to get to see a co-op Horizon game, that's not the MMO, just like if the third Horizon game will like let you play co-op. I kind of thought they were going to let you do that in Horizon Forbidden West because it looked like there was always somebody kind of traveling with Aloy, and then when you meet her friend in Burning Shores, she's just like you. Like, she moves like you, she's got a focus, she's got weapons like you. So I've always thought that would be fun with just the way the machines are and the different weapons that you could use. You could have somebody kind of slowing something down, somebody going DPS. I think 2-player co-op in Horizon could be incredible, and maybe we'll get like the tiniest bit of taste of that in LEGO Horizon Adventures. Overall, it looks like a charming romp, and I'm looking forward to playing this with my wife and kiddos, so be sure to tune in for that. We'll test that out on the stream for you guys. Now, other good news, if you've been kind of waiting, as we have all been waiting for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 to finally get here. Obviously our hearts go out to the devs for all they've had to go through and deal with being displaced and having to deal with just so much fear, I would imagine. But it's almost here. And the good news is you can preload it. And even more exciting is this game looks humongous. The game, if you preload it right now on your Xbox Series X or your S, it's 146 gig. Now, for comparison's sake, Starfield's install was 126 gig. So this is 20 gig larger than Starfield. Now, some of that is probably because this game is quite a bit higher fidelity than Starfield. The lighting, the textures, the world, just the environments in general look far more photorealistic, which that is probably some of that. And that, I think that's impressive, though, because like Starfield had just so much audio in it for just all of the dialogue, and audio tends to take up a lot of room sometimes. So the early previews for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 were incredibly positive. Some were claiming that they were playing a Game of the Year contender, or they felt like they were playing the Game of the Year. They're like, this is the Game of the Year. Others were saying it could be a Game of the Year contender. I'm officially cheering for this game. You know, I'm on record saying that Astrobot's probably going to win Game of the Year, but it would just be such a great thing for this game to kind of swoop out of the shadows, blow everybody away, and then walk away with a bunch of awards. After everything they've been through, that would just be such a triumph. Multiple levels of triumph for these guys with this game. So very much looking forward to S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, and I will be playing that. So get it preloaded, but make sure you free up a bunch of space if you're going to do that. And in the realm of freeing up some space, you're going to want to free up some space for Stellar Blade's DLC. This is, according to Game Rant, the Stellar Blade Nier Automata DLC will be releasing on November the 20th, along with a larger update. Now, we all know Stellar Blade is known for, well, it's known for its spice and all things nice, and they are certainly staying true to that with the 2B model that you will be able to play as. Currently, the game will also be doing an update with adding items, an updated photo mode, and new cosmetics. As you might expect, those cosmetics are drawing a bit of attention, but they're also going to be adding lip sync support for French, Spanish, Italian, German, Portuguese, and Latin American Spanish. So if that's your native language, you'll be able to switch and get that lip sync. Now, there's no other details about the DLC that have been given. The original trailer that they came out with made it look like there'd be like a new area for you to go to in the theme of Nier. So we'll see if that's the case. Like, are we actually going to be going to an area and playing as 2B, or can we just make Eve look like 2B? I'm not really sure. They haven't given us the details. It looks like you are actually playing as the character from Nier and not just making Eve look like her. So interestingly enough, maybe this will be a collaboration that leads to more content, go to more areas. The devs have clearly said that that's the inspiration for Stellar Blade. So after the PS5 Pro enhancements, this is likely another shot in the arm for Stellar Blade. It's done very well up to now, and this will obviously put it on more people's radar. And speaking of putting things on your radar, I always have games for your wish list and your radar. And if you haven't played Astroneer yet, Astroneer Glitch Walkers is coming. It will be arriving as a DLC tomorrow, November the 13th. This game is available on old gen, current gen, and Steam, and it's as charming as you can see here. Just a cool little game. I honestly think this looks fantastic. This looks like a more arcade-ish, more maybe co-op focused No Man's Sky. I've always felt like this game looked very, very good. Now, the last time I tried this game with my son, the opening tutorial and the onboarding left a lot to be desired for. It didn't seem to be built as well for console with respect to controls and prompts and like telling you what to do, he kept getting stuck, and it would be like, do this, and it wouldn't explain how to do it. So I kept having to do things for him. So maybe this can serve as a great moment for the onboarding and the tutorial and the beginning aspects of the game to maybe be a bit more streamlined. It has a 92% on Steam, it has an 86% on PlayStation, and it has an 80% on Xbox. I'm fairly certain Astroneer was on Game Pass. It may still be on Game Pass. Sometimes that does drive the score of a game down because people can try it, and a lot of the times that's a great benefit of Game Pass, is you're going to try a game that you typically don't like, and then that can tend to open up the player funnel to people who are just not going to vibe with the game, which can drive the score down. Not surprising, it has its highest score on Steam. The game feels a little bit better built for PC users, especially with the mouse and the keyboard and the controller, things I was talking about. So we will see if Glitchwalkers offers a new entrance point. The trailer claims that the Glitchwalkers DLC is our first ever expansion to Astroneer, offering a new space to explore as well as a new narrative, gameplay, and mysteries to uncover. So if you're an Astroneer fan, be sure to check out the DLC tomorrow, November the 13th. Now, this next game was on the new and upcoming on Steam, and I checked it out, and I just had to show this one to you. Temtem Swarm. It seems that everybody is getting in on the Survivor craze. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, Karate Survivor, the Nimrod's game. I've shown you guys so many of these games, and they are just so fun. And this one does feature online co-op with up to 3 players. It's releasing tomorrow into early access on Steam, so November the 13th. Now, the description says you can unlock mighty abilities and upgrades, find and collect Tems to evolve and become stronger, discover overpowered strategies, and battle massive bosses in this survivor-like bullet heaven. Everybody's been saying bullet heaven now instead of bullet hell. Play solo or online co-op with up to 3 players, building the wildest synergies. So online co-op really makes me hope that the 1.0 ends up landing on console. Family share on Steam is great, but it's not great for a game you're going to try to play at the same time. So like if my wife was going to play on a PC and I was going to play on a PC, I would basically have to buy the game twice, and I'm not too fond of that. PlayStation does a much better job with the sharing. We each have our own PlayStation, but then we can play the games together. It doesn't like tell her, hey, you can't play while he's playing. So would love for the Steam Family Share to switch in that regard, because then a lot of these games we'd be able to try out together even though they're online instead of local co-op. So Temtem Swarm, early access on Steam tomorrow. And this last one cracked me up, so I had to show it to you. It is called Lake of Creatures. All these action roguelikes that I show you, well, why not add fishing to an action roguelike, right? We always want to have fishing in every game. Well, now you can fish in an action roguelike, and this is how they describe it. A fast-paced action fishing roguelike where you're on a quest to save the lakes from mutated creatures, catch fish, find treasures, conquer enemy-riddled, randomly generated lakes. This one actually comes out this week as well, November the 15th. There is a demo on Steam right now if you want to try before you buy. So just to recap, there was a brand new deep dive into the Indiana Jones game. I think there's good and bad. I'm still not sold on some of the gameplay elements, but it is really nailing the feel of Indiana Jones. There was a 10-minute deep dive into Lego Horizon Adventures, which is out in just 2 days, that we will be checking out here on the channel along with Indiana Jones when it launches. And another game we'll be checking out this month is Stalker 2, and the preload's available, and it's big, 146 gig. And we took a quick look at the ever-spicy Stellar Blade. The DLC coming from Nier Automata is here on the 20th, and we have yet to get any more details about if it's going to add new areas or new enemies, but you'll certainly be able to look quite a bit different with 2B coming to the game, as well as some new cosmetics and a new photo mode. And then I put some games on your wish lists and your radar. So that's the news. Now it's time for the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Make sure you guys are going through that ritual. Smash the like button. Make sure it is saving your thumbs up. Let's get to 200 likes. That's always our first goal of the day. We have that new Super Chat feature goal as well, and when you guys hit that goal, I gift members. And Joker Quinn, as always, Han shot first, and so did you. This guy's always one of the first to gift a member. A little slow start again this week, but you guys always bring the heat later in the week, and we'll do a fun Friday night stream with Madam. This week, I think we'll continue doing the jump scare thing because she didn't get to return last week, so we kind of held off on that. So make sure you guys are celebrating those renewals and make sure you're gifting as well. And as always, hitting like is the absolute best way to get this video found by more folks. So I'm curious what you guys thought of the Indiana Jones thing. And we got a single gifted train coming out of nowhere. Patrick Q gifts one, Stone Spire gifts one, and B Nipple gifts one. All together now, the three of them pushes it to 40, just 10 away from 50, and then Stone Spire's going to do one more. And if anybody drops a 10 bomb, it's an Agent of Chaos. And another one comes in with the renewal of a VIP from my man XCal. Says, have a great day. Let's have a great day. Thank you so much, XCal. And DK Bager gifts one. We have a single train going right now. Jump on, gift a member. It's $5 and you bless somebody with a month of membership. XCal's not just going to renew their membership. They're also going to gift. And then Dark Taco is going to renew and bump us to 45. Thank you, Dark Taco. Good to see you. Good to see everybody here. Make sure if you cannot gift a member or become a member or super chat, make sure you hit like. The quicker those likes go up, the better. It really helps out. And Sven put another one on my radar here. And Belfagor gifts a member as well. And I was going to ask you guys before I was, so graciously interrupted by all these super chats. What do you guys think about the Indiana Jones gameplay? Because I do feel like it's winning me over, but I'm still just iffy on that shooting and the whip, and there's just elements to it that don't look good. Now, I'm open to it feeling completely differently once I've got my hand on the controller, because I think at this point, the game I'm looking forward to the most in the back end of the year here is Stalker 2. I'm looking forward to that more, I think, than any of the other games. Death Sprint has been out for a bit. So it's got an 82% overall. Multiplayer combat racing, third-person runner, PvP. Do they get to the gameplay here? Oh, yeah, it's like a racing game. Oh, yeah, like sliding on your feet. Okay. This is the game that he kind of put in the Discord this morning. I'm trying to give you guys a good crop here. There you go. Stalker 2 looks great. Happy belated birthday, Patrick McManus says. Would have joined the birthday stream, but was watching Godzilla -1 with my junior kaijus. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. And, good on you, dude. Better priorities there. Don't be coming and hanging out with me when you got things to do with the fam. I appreciate that very, very much as a family man myself. So thank you guys so much for being here and everybody who was part of that birthday stream. Raphael says they need to make it third person. I think it'll either be amazing or good, says Hadigan. I was skeptical about first person Metroid, and that blew me away. Granted, I know they cannot be compared directly, but I'm going to be open-minded. Yeah, I mean, I never want to just write a game off without actually trying it, because there have been games. I remember somebody saying when I was playing Horizon Forbidden West, they're like, man, Aloy's hair is so distracting. And I was like, I don't even notice it. Well, it's because I'm playing. I think sometimes when you're playing a game, there are elements that you just don't notice. So it's possible that Indiana Jones gameplay won't feel weird or awkward when you're playing it. It'll just feel punchy and hilarious to crack somebody over the skull with a wrench. And maybe it isn't awkward to have to, here's the guy in front of you and you have to turn and look down and pick up a shovel. It ends up feeling a little bit like a VR game in the trailers. So yeah, I'm hoping that the gameplay itself translates better than the trailers are showing it. It's kind of like, an analogy is actually, I think, to VR games. I think VR game trailers always struggle to look good because you're not in the game. Like when I'm suddenly in a VR game and I'm holding a sword and a shield and I'm looking around, it feels so cool. You would watch and be like, that looks kind of lame and kind of samey, boring. I feel like I've seen this before. Because you're not in the game. Raphael McCoy gifts a member and gets us really, really close to 50. Every 25, I owe you guys 5. Thank you so much. And then every 10 super chats, I owe you guys 5. So thank you guys so much for continuing to support the channel with the gifteds and your renewals. A $5 super chat from Rissick He moves the Super Chat goal along and says it looks like a VR game to me. And see, I don't feel like that's necessarily a slam. That could be the contextualization that is needed, right? Like, that could be the context that's needed. A VR game trailer doesn't always look that great. But then you go and play the VR game and you're like, yo, this is awesome. So the same could be said for Indiana Jones. It's very possible that the trailers just aren't doing it any justice. And it's like, yeah, that looks a little awkward. Yeah, that looks a little clunky. And then when you're in the game, you're like, no, it's totally fine. It feels completely fine. The previews didn't seem to take issue with that. They didn't seem to take issue with the first person or the combat. They seemed to be completely fine with it. Nobody was like, yeah, it's awkward, it's rough. Now, maybe it gets repetitive after a while. I've had people say that about the combat in Dragon Age Veilguard. They're like, well, yeah, you like it now, but later on you're going to get annoyed with it or bored with it. And I'm like, I'm 17 hours in and I'm good. I'm having a great time. Mr. B says it looks boring to me. I mean, it definitely looks like a slower game. It does. It definitely looks like it's going to be a little bit of a slower game. I don't think it's going to be like a high octane action game. I think there's going to be action sequences, but I don't think it's going to be like a run and gun shooter or whatever. Who was it that did the preview who said that the stealth, it to them it felt like a stealth game more than anything. Indy doesn't pick things up. His hand animation goes to an item and then it's in his hand. It's the lack of care and animation that looks stupid in first person, says Otto. I didn't even pick up on that. Siriu with 6 months of memberships says it doesn't look like it captures the frenetic energy of the chase and the action scenes in the movies. Well, I've seen a couple of sequences that actually look like they do that. It looks like they've got action sequences in it that capture what you're talking about. I just always have come back to, and this is how I felt since I first played Skyrim, is that being in first person and seeing your hands, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. It's like, if I'm holding a sword, I've got my sword down at my side. I'm not holding my sword up here and my shield up here. Like, here I come. Like, am I a Lego all of a sudden? Have you ever put a sword and a shield in the hands of a Lego? And you're just like holding them out in front of each other? That's what I feel like. So I've never been a big fan of it. And that I'm willing to admit that's a personal preference. I don't know, maybe it's because my first person experience was so largely shooters, and then I got a taste for third person combat somewhere along the line where there was like punching or sword fighting or something. Yeah, Lego Lono, that's right. I played third person with Skyrim. I couldn't do the first person. Yeah, I couldn't do it. It felt weird. I distinctly remember playing Skyrim and you're like down in that environment and you lockpick or whatever and you get your stuff and then you get in that first fight and I was like, this is so awkward, and I switched it. My friend's like, oh, you can switch it. And a gifted member from Stone Spire, we're going to see if anybody steals the glory from him. I think he's probably going to try to walk this rate to 50, and he does. He secures the first 50 members of the week. You guys want to be on pace. You're going to want to end today at 200. I'm going to gift 5 members. Anytime you guys fall behind, if you catch back up with pace, I'll drop a 50 bomb to try to help out and get more people in the membership pool. Did you play Into the Radius? I'm not familiar with that. Raphael McCoy moves the Super Chat goal. $5 Super Chat. Have you tried your PSVR 2 on the Pro yet? I haven't. I don't know what I should try. And Joker Quinn is the agent of chaos and moves us past 51. I'm sorry, moves us past 50 to 51. Thank you. Thank you, Joker Quinn. And Member Plus renewal from DTM, 34 months. That's a long time, DTM. Thank you so much. Bumps it to 52. The famous Canadian Goose in Wawa, Ontario, one of my favorites. That statue is terrifying. That is awful. Satya, whole slate Nadella's in chat. The issue with first-person Melee is that when you swing something, your whole body moves. In first-person Melee games, only your arms move, which ends up looking weird. Oh, yeah, the Metro VR game or No Man's Sky VR. You guys are right. Oh, yeah. I definitely need to try that out. You are all so correct. Cyberpunk's Melee is the best aspect of its combat. What's funny is, I didn't like the Melee in Cyberpunk, and I stuck with the guns. And that's probably why. I just don't like doing Melee in first person. There's something about the fact that my head has to move for the punching, and I just don't like it. DJB says, disappointing. Digital Foundry, really nothing good to say on pro comparisons, but minor differences. I don't know. I see huge differences in smoothness is insane. I'm not sure what you're referring to, DJB. Virtually all of their coverage has had a lot of glowing praise for the differences. John Linneman said that Horizon Forbidden West is like playing a high-end PC game. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Guys, welcome on in as you're tuning in. We're talking about gaming news. Indiana Jones gameplay, a deep dive dropped yesterday. We're kind of all reacting to it. There was also a deep dive into LEGO Horizon Adventures. Stalker 2's preload is live, and it's big. And then the Stellar Blade DLC. Those are all some of the topics. If I miss anything or anything is breaking out there, bring it to the table, and we'll talk about it. Welcome on in. This is a Monday through Friday gaming talk show, and it's safe for work. Do me a favor as you come in and settle in to listen to the show. Hit that like button. Get us to 200 likes. It'll help out this video. A guy from Digital Foundry said that indie was very slow. That's not what I would expect from an indie game. There were people talking about how it's basically a stealth game. It's just a lot of sneaking. Butter says, I think I figured out what the looks like VR about indie, and it's the same reason Avowed looks like VR. Both have a very stiff, rigid-looking camera movement, which is bad for the average game trailer. VR trailers are stiff because of how much movement the camera can actually have. The average regular game does not need it. Right, because if you slightly move your head, or you're moving around like this, every movement of your head moves in a VR game. Stalker 2 preload and DLC for one of the best games. Stellar Blade, awesome news. Yep. Yeah. And the Stalker 2 preload's huge. It's 20 gig larger than Starfield. So, DJB says, every other tech comparison finds Horizon to be the least impressive. It's very weird. Like, Channel Gaming Tech Guy does HDR stuff, etc. And I don't know. Forbidden West looked incredible to me. It's just subjective, DJB. Like, I just keep coming back to that. Like, I said this about SkillUp's review. He probably hasn't played Horizon Forbidden West for a year and a half to 2 years back when he reviewed it. So when he boots it up on his PS5 Pro, I think it's going to be harder for him to sense the differences because it was a beautiful game back when he played it, and now it's more beautiful. I think that's harder to deduce. I'm not going to hold it against somebody if they say, the differences I can't really see them. Unless you're doing a direct side-by-side, or you literally switch your TV inputs and you're like, okay, this is my old PS5, switch the inputs, okay, this is my Pro, and you got the game loaded up in the same areas. Like, I just think it's going to be hard for people to see the differences, and that's okay. It's, to me, delivering what I wanted out of it, and it's selling well, and the people that are buying it all seem to be pretty happy with it. I think the skeptics and the cynics and the videos and the reviews and stuff are having very little effect on it. Everybody mauling about the price for 2 weeks didn't affect demand or its sales. Everybody claiming that it wasn't in demand because it wasn't selling out, that turned out to be false as well. So I'm not concerned. I think it's going to do good things for games going forward. Dynamite Black with 16 months moves the member line. Guys, make sure and celebrate those renewals. Thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for being here. Strong start to our Tuesday. No upload today, but if you missed my upload yesterday, it was a review of the PS5 Pro and why I think it's worth it. Yo, good morning, Trekkie83. I just got home from work. I'm glad to catch a stream. Well, we're glad to have you here. Having a good time. These games look great and feel great. Diablo 4 running 70, 80 FPS. Number resolution. Yeah. Somebody came in yesterday and said they couldn't see a difference in Diablo, and then somebody else chimed in and said they could. So again, I just think it comes down, everybody's different, every TV's different, every setup's different. Michael McDonald with 16 months bumps the line as well. 54. We're one away from that tempting 55. PS5 Pro helped me notice some burn-in on my TV. I got myself the Samsung S90D, and I'm pretty impressed so far. How did it help you see that you had burn-in? Up goes Frazier, says, Stellar Blade should charge for the DLC. Shipped Up gave us free updates for months. Yeah, it feels like in the Stellar Blade DLC, that original trailer, it feels like there's going to be a new area for us to go that might be based on Nier Automata. I don't know if it's going to be, or you can just play through the game as 2B. I'm not sure. 75% of the premium COD sales were on PlayStation. That shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, that should, or is that considered a higher percentage than is typical? JTag says, I just started playing Horizon Forbidden West last night, and coming from someone that was not into Horizon, I'm actually going to give it a chance because it looked and played amazing. Graphics, wow. Oh, if you've never played it, then Forbidden West, especially, where are you playing it? Are you playing it on the base or the Pro? Mr. Grimm says, I think if Microsoft went... excuse me, sorry. I think if Microsoft went all out on the indie game, they would have trouble optimizing it for the Series S. That's my theory. The way they made the indie game is so it's less taxing on the Series S. I'm inclined to agree with you that I don't know. It's the real question is, like, Call of Duty launched on old gen. So they clearly were able to optimize, Black Ops 6 down to run on weaker hardware. But that becomes the real question going forward. What are they going to be doing with their first-party stuff if that is indeed part of the dilemma? We covered this yesterday during a Take-Two earnings call. Somebody asked about GTA 6 and if there were concerns about the Xbox Series S. Like, the Series S is a known quantity, even at that level. Like, somebody on a shareholders call with Take-Two is just like, well, what about the Series S? So it continues to make me wonder, what are devs going to do if they run into problems with it? Stalker 2 looked way better. Stalker 2 looks phenomenal, and they have said they've got it running very well on the Series S. I think it's engine dependent, and I think it's developer dependent, because Death Stranding 2 is running well on the Series S. A lot of that you would attribute to the Decima engine and being well optimized. And I know people are going to be like, well, see, it's the devs, blame the devs. You've got to be careful with that, though, because if devs don't want to deal with it, or if their engine just isn't getting along with the S, then what's going to happen to a game? What's going to happen to, the scope of the project? A $5 super chat from Silent Spartan. I have no idea how people can't see the difference between the base and the Pro. It plays so much smoother. The image is so much crisper. I love the Pro. Thank you so much. Getting us to 3 out of 10 on the super chat goal. Did I say Death Stranding 2? Sorry, Death Stranding. I was thinking of Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding 2 is not out yet. Death Stranding on the Series S is running well from everything I've seen. And that, again, is likely because of the Decima engine. So certain engines, I think, just have an easier time optimizing down to weaker hardware. I was playing God of War Ragnarok last night on the Pro, and I noticed quality mode with TAA runs at around 50 FPS. Didn't even need performance mode as it was smooth. Well, yeah, John Linneman said, I forget what game he was talking about, but he was like, you don't even need quality mode anymore. He's like, you just don't need it. Just play the game in the Pro mode or play the game in performance. It looks so good. I forget what game he was talking about when he said that. Quinn Bart says, Microsoft should make a Series X with a 500 gig hard drive with no disk drive, then do an upgrade program, bring in your S and upgrade for 100, and then discontinue the parity. I mean, I don't know, Quinn. That's... I don't know if that would work. There are so many people that wouldn't want to, wouldn't be willing, wouldn't know about the program. You'd have to alert them on their Xbox, trade in or trade up or whatever. Death Stranding was on the PS4, so it shouldn't have a problem on the S. That's a good point, Dave. It was an old-gen game when it first came out. This is true. I forgot about that. I keep thinking of Death Stranding 2 and how gorgeous it is, and then I keep thinking that the original Death Stranding is at that fidelity, and they certainly upticked it and made it look nicer in the director's cut, but Death Stranding 2 just looks insane to me. Have you tried that old Matrix UE5 demo? It runs way better on the Pro. I've seen some clips on Twitter of people doing that. I did not do that. No. So, guys, take a quick second, man. So many of you here. Thank you so much. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, subscribing's free. Hit subscribe. Say hello in the chat. We'd love to welcome you in. Take a quick second and also hit that like button. That thumbs up helps us out. We need 17 more for 600 likes. As you're listening to the show and you're enjoying what we do here, keep in mind you want to make sure you're also using the Discord. If you're a member, it's a great way to stay connected to the community and you won't miss out on all the extra stuff that we do. Is the average consumer who owns an Xbox Series S going to notice or want to upgrade? That's another great question, Dylan. That's another great question. Trade your base console and upgrade to the Pro, you'll save money. Huh? How would you save money? Oh, you would? Are you saying you would save money by trading? If people can't tell the difference between the base and the Pro, Series S and X differences wouldn't be noticed either. Yeah, I don't. Here's the situation with the Xbox Series S. If people bought it and they still have it and they're still gaming on it, then they're not going to care what we're talking about. They're not. They're a satisfied consumer. It was like when I would come home and my wife would be watching cable television on our brand new plasma, right? This is like 16 years ago, and she'd be watching it on our brand new widescreen plasma, and she'd be watching the standard definition version of the channel, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" She didn't care. She was watching her show, man. She loved Big Medicine, was one of her favorite shows. I couldn't watch it because of the surgery scenes. I was like, But she didn't care. Like, if someone is satisfied with their Series S and they're playing Death Stranding right now, or they've been playing who knows what, you're not going to convince them. They don't care. They're perfectly satisfied with what they have. I mean, think about this. There's roughly 60 million people still on a PS4. They're good. They're fine. They either can't afford it right now, they're waiting, or they're just not bothered. They're like, "Yeah, I'm good, dude. I'm playing Fortnite and Apex and Warzone." You know? Somebody on a Series S just, playing Game Pass. That's the issue, is you basically gave people a way to passively hold everything back. And it's not their fault. They just bought a very affordable console. Why wouldn't you? Your wife and I live very different lives. She made the Russian joke the other day, Zubair. I said something about Russian nesting dolls, and she's like, "Yeah, from my childhood." Or maybe she wasn't joking. Anyway, yeah, just... you can't blame them. It's like Xbox made more Series S's than X's. They were cheaper. So, yeah, a bunch of people bought them. And they're happy with them. What are you going to do? What did you think about Doc Dark's video about the PS5 Pro users are PC gamer wannabes? I think he's a PC gamer wannabe. I'm calling you out, Doc. Clip this and put it on Twitter. Let's start some drama. No, I'm just kidding. I think he's a PC gamer wannabe, dude. Who's a PC gamer wannabe? The person who buys the Pro because they can get better performance and fidelity, or the guy who bought a Walmart PC? Huh, Doc? Who's the wannabe? Huh? Huh, Doc? He knows I love him. He'll laugh if he sees a clip. He'll laugh. He's nothing but a hater. No, he's not. You have to know what Doc's doing. He's playing a character, man. He says it with a smirk on his face and a twinkle in his eye. Don't take anything he says as there's no malice in it. There's no malice in it. He's just having a good time. That's why I can take a swing and I know he'll just laugh it off. IGN says Dragon Age Veilguard's awkwardly in conflict with itself, torn into pieces that reflect sequel of to a decade-old RPG and a fresh beginning with no ties to what has come before. Is this an article? Dragon Age Veilguard, the sequel to Inquisition's Dreadwolf story, is trapped in an action game with no interest in the past. Yeah, I mean, I actually like it because it's more of an action game. I think the RPG elements are just right. There's just enough of them. I love the linear nature of the game, and I'm never going to do anything for Tash, and I'll be okay. He's right, though. But he's not right, B-Nipple. He isn't right. This is why he's trying to inject something into the people who love their PS5 Pros and are posting screenshots and clips on Twitter and celebrating their purchase. They're not PC gamer wannabes. They're not. They have been gaming on the console. They've been gaming on PS5, and they're thrilled that they can now get the ray tracing and the fidelity along with performance. Being excited about getting better performance is quite literally, let me remind Doc of where he comes from. You bought a Series X, Doc, and so did I. And why, pray tell, did we buy the Series X, Mr. Doc? We bought it for performance. We bought it for power. That's why we bought it. We bought the PS5 for the same dadgum reason. So in walks the Pro, and it's stronger, and it can do more. I'm buying it for the exact same reason that I bought a Series X. That's it. I'm not a PC gamer wannabe. I'm buying something based off of the promised power of the device. He bought a Series X for the same reason, and he set it aside for the same reason that I did. We weren't getting what we were promised, were we? So he ran to PC, and I just leaned over and was like, I have a console right here that's getting great games. I'll just play this. Now, I'm also playing a lot of PC games recently. A lot of these indie titles that I put on your radar, a lot of these indie titles, like Karate Survivor or Nimrod's Guncraft Survivor or the one from the Dead Cells guys, Windblown or Witchfire. I can't play those on console. So yeah, I'm still gaming on PC, but I'm more drawn there simply because they're exclusive, not because I prefer it or anything. It's just like, well, this is where I have to go to play them, and they're fun games. So come on. Come on. Doc's origin story betrays what he's saying in his latest video. I love him. I love him like a brother. But it's like, homie, your origin story betrays what you're saying. You bought a Series X for the power. Yeah, Porter Rock and Doc are brothers in real life, yes. Sorry, I couldn't resist. No, it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun, B-Nipple. I'm having a blast. I'm not mad or frustrated. I'm just reminding Doc of where he comes from. Vapor, good to see you. Vapor says there's 600 people watching and 200 likes. Hit the thumbs up. It's free. Hit thumbs up. Hit join. Let's get a new member train going, not a gifted train. Let's get a little new member train going. If you've been listening for a while and you enjoy the show, step up, get involved, pick Member Plus. It's $6 a month. You get a mountain of extra content in addition to everything else that we do here. And another one comes in from Stonespire. We'll see if you can bait one of the big boys, Stonespire. 55 is a 20 bomb away from 75. I'll owe you guys 5 more members. We'll see if anybody takes the bait. Stonespire is always so faithful setting those up. I don't want to get stuck in PS5 Pro PC land again. We've debated that enough. I had a little fun. Somebody asked me what I thought of Doc's video. And you know, we're having fun. But the topics of today are not that. I think S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is going to be a great game. It looks amazing. I really hope, at the very least, that S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 gets a Game of the Year nomination. Based on the previews, it could happen. It seems like a beefy game. So I hope it's already in the hands of the reviewers. Because 146 gig? It's 20 gig bigger than Starfield. Like, okay. Now, some of that is, it's a higher fidelity game. You know, the textures and the lighting systems and all that, you know, it could be a little bit heavier than Starfield. But Starfield has an awful lot of audio files, you know, awful lot of dialogue to contend with as well. So I think S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, I hope it could be poor compression. This is possible, Dave. We've run into this before with games being large on the install because of poor compression. I hope that's not the case. What kind of game is S.T.A.L.K.E.R? Survival first-person shooter, but it's not just survival. It's narrative driven. There's a linear element to it. Like, you're not just wandering around surviving. So it's a first-person story game in like a kind of a post-apocalyptic setting. And it's also got a little bit of like mysteriousness to it. Kind of like Metro a little bit. It seems like it's got a little bit more of survival elements than other games in the genre. You've really got to kind of pay attention to certain things. It's definitely poor compression. I don't think we can say that it's definitely poor compression. There's no way to know until it's out. I don't think I love first-person shooters either. Major third-person guy, being Sony all my life for their single players. Yeah, I'm a bit of a mismatch, DJB. Yeah. I'm a bit of a mismatch because, like, I cut my teeth and spent the bulk of my gaming career playing first-person shooters. Quake 2, Quake 3, Unreal Tournament, and then Call of Duty. That was, like, my main arena of gaming from 2000 to, I want to say it was around, and then Destiny. Yeah. So, honestly, almost a decade from 20 years roughly. For 20 years, I was primarily playing first-person shooters. And now, I still love them, but I prefer third-person action-adventure games. You give me a Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, or Horizon. You give me a good Assassin's Creed. Dude, and I'm frickin' there. Stellar Blade, even games like Sekiro. Like, 20 years of primarily playing first-person shooters, and I've just kind of had my fill of them, so I'm hoping S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 can kind of restoke those fires. I need to go back to the Black Ops 6 campaign as well, because I've heard that it gets really, really good. So once I'm done with Veilguard, I think that's what I'm going to do, is like finish Black Ops 6 campaign, finish Space Marine 2, and then we've obviously got S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 coming, and just eating good right now as a gamer. If you've got a backlog at all, and then you're also interested in the new games coming, and then Stellar Blades DLC, there's so much, there's too many games. Like, all these little games I just cited to you guys, I wish I had more time. I've wanted to go back and grind more and unlock more things in Karate Survivor. I've wanted to play more Windblown. Windblown's been doing patches. They're doing some more quality of life, some more balancing, some more bug fixes. My hope is that I sampled all these games, and a lot of them are in early access, and then eventually they'll 1.0 drop on console, and I'll have a reason to play them, because then I'll be able to play them with my wife, Deadeye Survivor says, headshot, unstoppable, yeah. Monster kill, yeah. The voice of Unreal Tournament is renowned. I've heard good things, Egyptian. What Egyptian say? I haven't played Call of Duty since Ghost. Yeah, the Black Ops 6 campaign starts off really slow and very different, and I didn't dislike it. I applauded the shift and change, but it just didn't hook me. I was like, yeah, this just isn't really for me. And then people are like, yo, Lono, you got to go back. And I'm like, okay, because I was really looking forward to it. I thought Black Ops 1 story is like one of the best. And I was like, dude, Black Ops 6 is going to be sick. I told you Windblown was going to slap. I don't think you told me Windblown was going to slap. I was watching it ever since the first trailer, Deuterino. Like, I saw that first trailer and was interested and wishlisted it because I know Dead Cells is good work. And then, like, the top down and then the speed, it just looked so good from moment one. You maybe you, like, told me about it, didn't realize. I had been watching Windblown for a while. Some of you guys have put games on my radar, and I don't take any credit, like Karate Survivor. But yeah, Windblown, I saw one trailer a while ago and was like, yo, that looks like a sick game. Derek says, I might get to hook up my PS5 the day after tomorrow, so I'm a bit excited. Oh, have you not been able to play on your PS5, or did you snag a Pro, Derek? Metro used the triggers on the DualSense, if I remember. Yeah, it has haptic support. Metro has haptic support on PC as well. Yeah. Full pull for secondary function. Returnal did that, and I didn't like it. I would constantly use my secondary by accident. I switched that in Returnal. I didn't like it. I would kind of panic and squeeze the trigger, and I would mess up. Does Witchfire come out on console soon, says Sneaky Wolf. They would like to bring it to console, but I don't think they've even had their 1.0 moment yet, have they? I don't think they have. Store page. Yeah, it's still in early access. $40 early access. It came out in September of this year on Steam. It was on Epic for about a year before that. It has a 92% overall. So Witchfire's doing well. I'm thrilled to see that. I've been in that game's corner for a while. I've been trying to put more and more people onto it. It's like a medieval Destiny rogue shooter. It feels fantastic. It's just such a solid game. I think they've got some balancing issues, but I believe that's going to be true of almost any game. So the only thing I don't enjoy about not having a PC is some of the games like Sons of the Forest. I would really like to play that, and hopefully it comes to console. Yeah, early access is great, but early access is far more common. Like 95% of the games in early access are on PC. I think it's just easier for them to put it there, and then they can iterate and do quick updates and post their patch notes. PlayStation and Xbox are not nearly as conducive to early access. I think Xbox is more conducive than PlayStation because of their preview program, but then the Xbox certification probably slows things down. So yeah, I would absolutely love it if PlayStation would lay better seedbed for that, as well as Xbox. Like, give devs the tools and the ability to do more early access. And I know PlayStation's going to have to chart a course for this anyway with their live service games, which Hiroki Totoki seemingly indicated that they're going to be doing, because I don't think you can just launch live service games cold anymore. I think you got to bring them to the market in early access first. Did Derek answer me? He did not. Oh, normal one. Oh, your normal PS5's been in storage. Okay. Have you seen some of the latest Path of Exile 2 footage? The Path of Exile 2, it just, every time I see it, I get excited. Path of Exile 2 has made me have zero desire to go back to Diablo 4, because Diablo 4 looks slow and boring. Diablo 4 looks geriatric in comparison to Path of Exile 2. Just trailers. Just the PoE trailers has just ruined. I can't go back to Diablo. People are like, it's better now. It's better. I'm like, no. I'm not playing, dude. I'm waiting for PoE 2. The original The Forest is on PlayStation? I'm actually not sure, but the new one is the one he was talking about, like Sons of the Forest. I feel like console players would be more likely to say, I'm not paying to play a beta. Early access needs to be part of the gaming culture. This is probably true, Zubair. It probably is. But PlayStation could foster that culture. They could foster the culture. You could put it in its own place, you know, give it its own category, give it its own name, and say, hey, this is a great way for you to test out and try out games and support them, you know, maybe one of the best ways to foster the early access culture on console would be to interweave it with demos. You know, like, let's just say they did early access and they had its own category on PlayStation. And let's just say, you know, Witchfire was hanging out in there, right? Well, what PlayStation could do is they could say, you can try Witchfire for 2 hours. Now, that could be dangerous with some games if they're, like, really tough or not quite as accessible as others. But then you'd have people saying, oh, I'm willing to try it out because, you know, what is this? Skip. What is going on? Why am I getting a... Don't show this again. I can't even get into the app. I need help. I have a cat. I'm moving. I want to give him to my mom. I'm getting neighbor alerts from... I guess you can send ring like commercials or something. I'm sorry, not commercials, but like advertisements. Like, hey, I'm trying to get rid of my cat. Oh, my lands. Horizons 2.0 are going to drop on Thursday the 14th. What are Horizon 2.0s? I wonder if what's going to be different about them? Anyway. Enough about that. My Ring notified me and I saw a picture of a cat and I was like, is there a cat on my porch? You should only pay for premium if you care a lot about a game to invest $150 a year. I'm not sure what you're saying. Early access for PlayStation Premium members? Yeah, I mean, you could certainly give it to people who are on the highest version of PS Plus. But I don't know if the devs would be okay with that. Part of what works well for early access is they're getting some funding while also getting testing, while also getting good information. So it's like it's sort of a good, you know, it's sort of a good combination. It's a good relationship. Jack is back. We still have Jack. I don't know if PS Plus or a subscription service or something like that would be as conducive for early access. My concern would be that the devs would be like, no, we don't want to do that. We need people to buy the game when it's in early access to help with funding. This is why I think PlayStation could ease people into it and say, we love the idea of early access. We love the idea of game devs and the players being able to kind of come together in a symbiotic relationship, but we understand you might be hesitant to buy a game in early access, so, you know, they would all have demos. Or maybe not demos, I'm sorry, trials. They have the trial mechanism built into PlayStation if you're at PS Plus Premium. So, still crapping in the box next to your desk? No, he's out in the garage. He's enormous, and he's as ornery as ever. 17 and a half. He's an old man. And he's showing no signs of slowing down. Stubborn old mule. Early access for consoles would need to come with a real commitment from the devs. Yeah, when's the next Ratchet & Clank game? Probably not for a long time. Insomniac's busy with Wolverine, then after Wolverine, there's all the rumors about Venom. Then we know they're going to want to do a Spider-Man 3. You know, we know there's the potential of an X-Men game. Insomniac's basically going to become a Marvel churning house, which some people like and some people don't like. Guys, take a quick second. Thanks so much. We've been streaming for about an hour. Smash that like button. Smash the like button. The like button helps us out, and anything that's been going on right now, you can ask me about in gaming news. You can change a subject. You can also use the question command if you are a member, either a gifted member or a paying member, and your question can pop up on the screen. And if you want to gift a member or become a member, it supports me directly, and we greatly appreciate and encourage that. That's how we are able to do what we do. an early access game isn't full price. It's usually like $30. I think the feedback would be worth it, especially for small, medium-sized games. Right. I think you also have to remember what Lewis is bringing up is that you'd go to the early access part of PlayStation and all the games would be $20, $30, and $40. A lot of early access games are like $20. So you've got to consider that as well, is that if you could try it and then it's 20 and then they're consistently updating it. I mean, again, this would have to be in PlayStation's interest because they'd have to invest in it. They'd have to invest in creating it as part of their ecosystem, and not just part of their ecosystem, but as part of the culture of PlayStation. This might not be in their business interest. They look at a game like Windblown or Witchfire or, Karate Survivor, and they're like, those games aren't going to move the revenue needle for us. We're not going to do that. That's the honest to goodness truth. I mean, that's why Steam is such an asset to small devs, because they can kind of have a breakout moment. I wish these guys that have a million subscribers, they have these huge platforms. I wish sometimes that I was at that size just so I could be like, yo, give these guys some love, and just all of a sudden make a game like that. Like when some of the bigger content creators were suddenly playing Among Us, and Among Us exploded and it changed the trajectory of that studio and that game for forever. Why? Well, a handful of really big content creators played it and had fun. You get a handful of content creators to play something like Karate Survivor, and then the game takes off and becomes super popular. I love that. I love when the big content creators do that. I think it's great. It's good for the industry. It's good for the developers. It's good to see good games and good innovative ideas rewarded. Early access isn't really appealing to console gamers, says Chris. Console players look for finished games. PC players have a different mindset, and they like to tinker and experiment with indie games, and then they give feedback. This is actually a good question. I'm going to pop this one up on the screen. This is the benefit of being a member. So thank you so much. And guys, double check that it's saving your likes. Let's get 49 more likes on the video. There's a ton of you here. So let's get that like count going. Raphael McCoy says, what's the real difference between trials and demos? This is a good question. So the way that PlayStation has set up the trial is you are installing the game and it lets you play for an hour or two. So you've got the game, it's there, and then if you decide to buy it, it's yours. A demo is like an individually installed slice of the game that gives you a couple of levels and maybe a boss to fight. So the reason that demos are not as appealing sometimes to the developer is it takes extra time to build something and to troubleshoot something, and it's not even the game. It's just a slice of it. So a trial is more appealing to the developer because they don't have to do anything. It's just, they would probably want to communicate to PlayStation, hey, like Witchfire, for example. They might say, you should let the trial last for 2.5 hours or 2 hours instead of 1 hour, because an hour is not enough time. People aren't going to get enough of a sample, and they might not like the game. Right? Somebody else might say, you need to give them an hour. If you give them more than that, they're going to have played a good chunk of the game. And that's not good for us. So a trial is a benefit to the developer as long as they have good communication with PlayStation and they can have an influence over how long the trial is. New look at South of Midnight by Compulsion Games. These screenshots are not high resolution. I'm not sure why he uploaded. Yeah, these screenshots are... The original trailer looks way better than these screenshots. Those screenshots look bad. I think the game looks good. The screenshots are low res. They don't look like great screenshots. I mean, I'm excited for South of Midnight. I think it looks good. I think they're doing... Did they do something today? I think they were doing something today about South of Midnight. I can't remember what it was. Let's take another question here from the members, guys. You can ask anything about gaming news going on. This is a great way to change a conversation if you're like, I want to know about this or want to ask about that. Barrier says, what do you think some of the big free-to-play shooters are simultaneously launching classic or OG modes? Apex, Fortnite, and now Overwatch. This just falls under the wisdom of there's nothing new under the sun. I think you're always going to get to a point where you either, not necessarily that you run out of ideas, but you just hit that point where it's like, okay, let's go back to basics. Some of that's because maybe they've gone too far. Like, some of these games have gone a little crazy with the innovation and the weapons and the maps and this and that. But I also think sometimes they just cyclically know it's time to bring the OG players back. Like, they can probably run a report and know and say, hey, now's a great time to go back to season 1 of Fortnite. They can run a report and see that the player base is trending away from our longer standing fans. And then they do something to bring those players back. Does that make sense? It's interesting that they are all kind of doing it at the same time. I've always wanted, from Fortnite, I've just wanted a no build first person mode. I just want to see what that would feel like. I think it would be so fun on a Friday night to boot up with you guys for a community game night and just load in to a no-build first-person mode. Right? I just heard an announcement from Hip Hop Gamer that Hellblade 2 is coming to PS5 Pro in 2025 with Pro Enhanced Console treatment. Thoughts? I don't know about, I don't feel like commentating on his accuracy, because I do feel like there are folks who make 100 predictions and then when 5 of them hit, they're like, see, I told you. And that's the general vibe I've gotten sometimes. Like, I do think he's got people that tell him stuff, and I do think he has sources, but I also think sometimes, as many people do when they're making predictions, they're just sort of throwing stuff at the wall. And they're throwing stuff that they feel has high probability of sticking. It's not like, and I'm not saying this about him specifically, I'm just saying there's a general trend in the gaming world of just like, this is probably likely to happen, and they throw it, and they say, yeah, I heard this is going to happen. And then when it sticks, they're like, see, told you. How many things hit the wall and don't stick, I think, is the better question. With regard to Hellblade 2 coming to PS5 and getting pro enhancements, number one, there's a pretty big audience for Hellblade on PlayStation. There's a pretty decent audience based on the first game and its sales numbers. Number two, the ray tracing, the advanced ray tracing and the PSSR could, really, really shine in Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 is a very pretty game on PC because it's actually 60 FPS. So yeah, they could get themselves a 60 FPS mode on the Pro. I still wouldn't be surprised if you see a 60 FPS patch come to Hellblade 2, a performance mode come to Hellblade 2 on the Series X. Just a thought that'll probably happen. Anyways, I feel like that prediction is just one of those in the dark tosses where it's like, well, this will probably stick. It looks blurry and muddy on Twitter. Did you get a better picture, Sven? That picture on Twitter of South of Midnight was just bad. This is a higher red. No, that's the same image. That's the same blurry image, just stretched. That's not any better. Where do you get your info? Not saying it's wrong or anything. I would like to know more soon as it's available. I don't run a lot of content based off of info that I've received. I've got it on good authority from my very small number of sources that, you know, the PS Portal is getting cloud. Now, you could say, well, that's an easy guess to make, Lono. Well, a lot of people don't think that that's going to happen, or they dismiss the idea entirely when the PS Portal came out, and I was basically told it's coming. There apparently is going to be a pretty big update holiday for the Portal. I don't know if that's going to include the cloud stuff just yet. I don't typically run content that's like, oh, I've got a source that says. I don't do that. I don't tweet like that. I don't make content like that. Like, the one time I did, I got viciously attacked, and then the people that attacked me disappeared. Because they were an illegitimate outlet that was incredibly unprofessional and fake fired a guy and publicly apologized to me because they brought my wife into the situation and said things about her, and it was just like, that's the kind of people that you deal with. So it's just like, that's not my content cadence, and that's not my value as a content creator. It's not like, ooh, I have a bunch of sources. I've just noticed over the years there are people with legitimate sources. I think Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming is the single most reliable insider out there. And then after that, you've got Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, who is probably basically tied, or in my estimation, maybe a little bit behind Tommy. In any case, those two gentlemen have sources and have a very good track record. After that, you got guys like Special Nick and Jeff Grubb and others who have sources. But a lot of the times they come out and they say, you know, I heard this a while ago. Things may have changed. You know, they're not necessarily out there doing... they're not necessarily out there doing the... oh, I've got a source. It just, you know, Grubb will just drop some stuff on a podcast, you know. But then there are people who don't seem to have sources. They don't. Because their track record's shaky, and a lot of their predictions feel like guesses. You know, the video is miles better. Yeah, there's a South of Midnight video that they dropped today. And this was one that I was actually interested in. It's 30 minutes long. Is it? Yeah, there's a lot of dev discussion in this. South of Midnight got a lot of hate because their cutscenes have like a 30 FPS, almost like stop motion feel to them. But the combat I thought looked quite good. Are there any long sequences in this of gameplay? Maybe near the end? No, it's really interwoven with mocap and people talking and instruments. It looks like they put a lot of work into this. And this, it looks like she's the actress. Okay. Yeah, I think the art style of this game just looks great. Wait, is that? He looks familiar. Who is that? Is he? I feel like I've seen him in something before. Yeah, look at that. That looks sick. Did you see that alligator? Come on now. I think this game looks awesome. She a baddie? Yeah, agreed. This game's got style. It's got some moxie. I like this, dude. You clipped a bit of traversal. All right, hang on a second. This game has my attention. This is my kind of game. Snappy combat, cool art style. Yeah. I think it looks good. I do. I think South of Midnight looks good. It's one of the ones that got my attention. The cutscenes, again, are stylized and almost like stop motion with 30 FPS, but 30 FPS in cutscenes is common. That's not a concern. The gameplay looks really cool. Lone Wolf says, this is the one I'm the most pumped for. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. Okay. What the heck are you putting in front of me here? What are we looking at here, brother? Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. Okay. So this like classic This is like hearkening back to like the classic arcade punchy punch games. Yeah, dude. Go Power Rangers. This one's coming out December the 10th. Is that a multi-plat release? Is that a multi-plat release? That's Ahmed Best. Oh, he played Jar Jar? Oh, man. Poor guy. All right, let's take some more questions here. Guys, feel free to submit a question. Feel free to smash like. Feel free to celebrate those membership renewals if you're doing them. We got Super Chat goal at the top. Thank you, everybody who's already contributed. Celebrate 3 decades of Power Rangers in a new experience that blends brawling, blasting, fighting, and diving action. Pre-order now, coming December 10th. It looks like it's hitting PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Steam, Series X and S. Yeah, the Power Rangers game is everywhere. Stonespire with a question. Now that you are engaged in Dragon Age Veilguard, do you think you will be able to get into Dragon's Dogma at some point? I have been told that Dragon's Dogma is not going to appeal to me. I've also been told that it's quite a bit bigger, and you know it's going to be, I guess, harder for me to get into or whatever. This guy left a comment on my PS5 Pro video and just said shill, and it's like insecure man-child. I've been continually shocked at how grown men will admit that they're insecure children because they're like, somebody likes something that I don't like, so they must be a shill. Like, that's weird. To be so insecure, to be such a boy, it's just odd to me. Why admit that? You know, that you didn't get beyond the age of like 13 with a sense of maturity. Anyway. I've been told that, you know, people are like, oh, you're not going to like Dragon's Dogma 2. You know, it's going to be slow and long or whatever. So I bought it because it was on sale. I'm going to tuck it away in the backlog, you know, and maybe get to it one day, especially now that I know that it's going to run well. Dogma Combat has a totally different feeling. I don't like it. Huh. What don't you like about it? I do what it does on my phone and the haptic feedback and the rumble. I get that on my phone with a third-party app that connects faster and more stable than the PlayStation official, and I use my DualSense. You use your DualSense on your phone and you get haptic support? What game are you playing on your phone with that you want the haptic support for? I don't really mobile game. Hadigan says, did you have a chance to test the Portal with the PS5 Pro, and if so, any noticeable improvements? The improvements are there because I was playing Dragon Age Veilguard, so I saw visually the improvements. Right? Like, it's still a 1080-60 experience on a you know, a smaller screen. I thought it was right next to me, but I think it's back out in the entertainment room. And it's still that. It's not like I'm suddenly getting a higher resolution image or higher frames or something like that. But the game itself is running better and looks better. So like Dragon Age Veilguard through the portal on a base PS5 is going to get more blurry during like when I'm using my ultimate, because it's just there's too much going on the screen. The lighting and the reflections aren't going to be as extreme. You know, when I play it on the PS5 Pro, I'm visually seeing the increase in clarity during high motion. I'm seeing the better reflections and the better lighting. So I'm playing a better looking version of Veilguard through remote play. Does that make sense? The combat in Dragon's Dogma 2, Paul says, it's real-time combat, but it feels really delayed and slow. Yeah, that'd be a huge turnoff to me. That sounds like what I don't like. Some apparently a music and a game art box for South of Midnight is releasing April 30th, leading some to speculate that South of Midnight is launching in April. I don't know if they would do the art music box set. Why is it being sold separately and not being sold along with the game? That I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I noticed improvements on the portal, but only because I'm playing a version of a game that's running better and looks better. Like if I played Space Marine 2 on my portal, then I'm going to be getting better frame rate in Space Marine 2 because the PS5 Pro is getting better frame rate. So the portal is getting a better experience, but I don't think it's like changing anything with latency or anything like that. No, because I played Stellar Blade through it, and there was still just enough latency that sometimes you just miss your blocks because there's just enough latency. Stellar Blade doing like a boss fight through it can be a little rough. I still beat the boss, but I missed a couple of easy parry rhythms because it's like it was the boss that does like a hit, roll, hit. And I was typically missing either the rapid where it's like hit, or I'm missing the one that's like this big, huge, drawn out, because it's just like it's harder to time it because you're just getting enough latency that sometimes you feel the latency and sometimes you don't, so you don't know what's, you know, it's hard to get into a flow state in a game like Stellar Blade through the portal. The portal is better for, you know, less demanding iframe driven games. Like Stellar Blade comes down to like you've got to nail the timing, you know. I have an easier time with combat in Dragon Age Veilguard because there are windows for perfect blocks and dodges, but they're a lot more gracious and easy to navigate when compared to a game like Stellar Blade. So, let's get 26 more likes on the video, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Gaming news slowed down a little bit, but we still had a great day. You can always bring things to the table that might be breaking news out there. If there's trailers, if there's info, if there's announcements, right? All right, let's pull up another question here. B-Nibble says, if Sony brought out a console that allowed you to upgrade the RAM, CPU, APU, or GPU through a quick access plug and play, would you adopt? I mean, this feels like a fantasy world, but let's imagine that this is possible. I would likely adopt if it was essentially a trajectory of riding the front of the wave in the console realm. Right? So if, let's say, they bring out this alleged console that you're hypothesizing here, and let's say like a year later, they're like, hey, you can increase the RAM. And then a year later, they're like, oh, we've got a new GPU. Or, hey, we got a new CPU. And I like pop off the side and pull something out and pull something in. And it's like you're saying, plug and play, which again, this just feels insane to me because, you know, And the people that tinker with their PCs and take them apart probably feel like it's basically plug and play. Like, to them, it's like a Lego set. It's like it just makes sense to their brain when they look at it. And I don't get, like, confused when I look in my computer. I'm not like, what's that? You know, pointing at a fan. Is that the CPU? Like, it's not that it's confusing. It's just like, I don't want to go in there and do anything. It's not my world. I don't have a desire to do it. So, you know, if they did this, I don't see why I wouldn't adopt. I would adopt out of curiosity. I would adopt because I'm a content creator. I would adopt because I want the best of the best. And then somebody might be like, well, why won't you do that with your PC? Well, number one, it's expensive to constantly upgrade your PC. Like, if every year or even if every 2 years you're like, yeah, I'm going to upgrade my GPU, it's very expensive. Also, it's just something I don't like doing. I had to swap the power supply on my gaming rig, and I was just annoyed. I was like, I don't want to do this. I just don't want to do it. Is this real? Is that a real advertisement, or has that been photoshopped? It's being claimed here that PS5 digital-only Slim will be $379 during the holiday season at retailers. The offer ends December 24th, according to this image. This is unverified. I don't know if this is real or not. Yeah, I don't know if this is real or not. That's a crazy good deal. I think they're trying to move through that PS5 standard. You know, they're wanting to get those out there. And when you see the Pro at $700 and you see that thing for $380, whoo! Eugene says it's real. It's real. Okay, I just don't want to show something that's like potentially not accurate. I always want to have that disclaimer. It's legit. Warrior64 is reporting. A $5 super chat from Juice Man gets us almost halfway on the super chat goal. Says, why are people complaining about the price of the Pro but paid 2 and 3 times more during the shortage? It's strange to me. Well, the people complaining about the price aren't buying it. They put out a commercial. Oh yeah, this is literally a brand new commercial. PlayStation just dropped this an hour ago. Yo, what's good, Detective Seeds? It's real. It's part of a PlayStation video. Yeah, it's in this video here. They are, PlayStation's not messing around, dude. They're trying to really put the pedal down on market saturation. $380? Wait, is that right now? So they don't have a date or anything. Retailer price may vary. All right, hang on a second. If that's right now, that's crazy. I thought they would at least wait until we were a little bit further in November. It was a hypothetical. I was just curious. Getting into a modular system is certainly something that I would be hesitant on, B-Nipple. Just because it's not something that I'm big on. I don't want to mess around with that. I'm very much interested in just buying it, plugging it in, and being done. Like, read reviews of places. What is this, Target? It's still $500 at Target. Yeah, I'm checking Best Buy right now. Best Buy, yeah, it's still $500 at Best Buy. So they just pushed that out. The PlayStation Direct still has it at $450. Yeah, they just pushed this out, so they're going to have to update those prices because everybody's going to be like, what's the point of this? Base PS5 trade value towards the Pro won't be much now. Yeah, it'll probably go down. Yeah. You want a Portal bad? Yeah, I like my Portal quite a bit. It's nice. Guys, take a quick second. Ooh, we only need 15. 15 more likes. Let's get that 300 like count going. And if you guys haven't done your membership renewals, the membership pace is slowing down. We're going to need some of the big boys to come help. We hit it last week without any of the big boys. Well, Risic helped. Risic's one of the guys who drops member bombs. But you guys were impressive last week without Mash. I think Behemoth did a couple one day. He did a couple big bombs, but he took a little bit of a backseat last week as well. And Charles Freeman as well. We've got some big gifters that have been taking a bit of a break. They've been taking a respite, and you guys have come huge with the support. Let's take a look at the next question here. Sneaky Wolf says, how confident are you that South of Midnight will land at 60 FPS? I mean, I don't really have a reason to think that it's not going to be. The 60 FPS situation with Xbox is just a weird one. Like, I can't put my finger on what's going on. Like, why is Avowed 30 and Indiana Jones is 60? Why is Stalker 60 and Avowed is 30? You know what I mean? Like, I can't put my finger on what in the heck's going on. It's just really inconsistent. Like, I look at South of Midnight, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't run at 60. It looks like a cool game, charming art style, but I'm not seeing anything that would keep it from hitting 60. The set pieces that they've shown, the fights that they've shown, those are all instances and environments that should run just fine on the Series X. The Series X is a good piece of hardware. It's strong. It should have no problem. So, I don't know if they've spoken to it. Yeah, Avowed is 30 FPS. They confirmed that in an interview during, what was it? It was Gamescom, I believe. It was either Gamescom or Tokyo Game Show. It was one of them. I think it was Gamescom. Yeah, they confirmed in an interview that Avowed is 30 FPS. Almost no. I see these guys on Twitter that are like, yo, Avowed's going to be so huge next year. I'm like, no, it's not. It's going to be another 30 FPS game. Like, what? That's so disappointing. You can't have your first party games that are supposed to be brand ambassadors dropping at 30 FPS. Like, that's just, at this point, I think it's embarrassing. Yeah, you don't really need 60. The dev said something to that effect. What are you talking about? Your game's coming out in 2025. Like, what do you mean I don't need 60? What are you saying right now? We went from the world's most powerful console to devs saying it's a creative choice and it's more cinematic and you don't really need 60. I'll tell you what, all three of these statements, take them, put them in a box, and never say them again because I'm sick of hearing it. What year is it? What are we doing? Like, Mark Cerny comes out and he's like, 3 out of 4 players prefer performance. Players prefer more frames per second. That's what we're finding. We talked with the devs. We engineered something that's going to be able to give you that. And Xbox devs are like, it was a creative decision. It's more cinematic, and you don't really need 60. The frick did you say? Like, what? How about you just don't say anything else? Yeah, it's going to be at 30. Next question. I wouldn't say anything after that because you just end up sounding silly. Yeah, we got a real stable, really crisp, really fluid 30 FPS. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say anything like that. It's crazy how small the Starfield DLC was. Came and went. No one seemed to care at all. Oh yeah, dude, that Shattered Space. Everybody was talking about Shattered Space was going to be this monumental thing. Boy, oh boy, was that gone. That was here and gone. Listen to me now. I don't know what they're going to do with Starfield going forward. They said they had like a 10-year, horizon for Starfield. And I'm like, I don't know if Xbox is going to let you do that. They want Elder Scrolls, dude. They don't want you farting around with Starfield. Starfield's become, a has-been. It was the most talked about, the most marketed, the most overhyped game since Cyberpunk. I said it, and I'll say it again. It was the most overhyped game since Cyberpunk. Look at the user score. I don't even know if they're going to want to bring it to PlayStation now. I'll be honest with you. They have a really big Bethesda audience on PlayStation, but that game just has so much stink on it. It just it doesn't have a great user score. The DLC was highly criticized by the fans and didn't score well at all. Good night. Yeah, I tried New World on console. It was fine. The combat is just too slow and not, it's just enough not real time that I don't like it. I liked it for a while, but then I've played too many high-speed action games with really tight combat. New World I'm not a big enough MMO fan to put up with it. Yo, what's good, gamer boy? How are you? What's up with Starfield? Somebody asked me a question about South of Midnight in 60 FPS, and we just started talking about the inconsistency with Xbox and 60 FPS, and Avowed is 30. Yeah, I think South of Midnight will be 60, but is South of Midnight a first-party studio? Yeah. It is. Let's see here. Compulsion Games. Yeah, Compulsion Games is owned by Microsoft. It's an Xbox game studio. It looks like at E3 2018, Microsoft announced that they entered into an agreement with Compulsion Games. So they became part of Microsoft Studios 6 years ago. Starfield will be good on the Pro. The Pro can't make a boring game fun. The Pro can't make a mediocre game not mediocre. Starfield's got to be one of the most overhyped, most mediocre games ever created. If you like it, that's just fine. My assessment of that game is it is so mid. It is so aggressively mid in the way that people talk about it. It's like, dude, look at the user score. It's bad. It's not bringing that to PlayStation. This is what I thought was going to happen. This was my prediction, was they were going to spend this year making Starfield into something different, giving it a 2.0 moment, giving it a redemption arc, and then Shattered Space was going to be like the crown jewel of that. And they have not done that at all. They haven't done it at all. And the response to Shattered Space, if they would want to move forward with bringing it to PlayStation. I just don't know. It's like when they added the performance options, it looked to me like, okay, they're getting ready. They're building that foundation. They're going to want to bring this to PlayStation. They're going to want to bring it over. There's a big Bethesda audience. They're giving it ground level performance settings that are common on PlayStation 5. But then the updates have largely been just like stuff that should have been in there at launch, and then a DLC that just landed so flat. It's really not that bad. It's definitely not impressive. It's just so mediocre. Like, I booted up the game to get ready for Shattered Space. I played for 15 minutes and I was like, I can't do this. It's just so boring. Everything I do, it just drips with boredom. Thanos snap? Are we having a blip? Hello? Yeah, my audio is fine. It must be YouTube on the front end. It's not on the back end. My bit rate's solid as a rock. No game that has a 2.0 moment is done within 12 months. That's fair, Paul. That is fair. You know, that's fair. Cyberpunk took a really long time, and so did No Man's Sky. That's fair. Jake says it's still coming to PlayStation, no doubt in my mind, and it'll sell just fine, I'm guessing. Gigablip, refresh. Yeah, you guys are going to have to refresh. I'm not sure what's going on. Audio cutting in and out. Yeah. Other people it's fine, so it must be some kind of a regional thing. Not every piece of entertainment is for everyone. I don't find it boring. Right, and that's totally fine. Listen, if you have played Starfield and you've had a good time, I'm not trying to convince you that you didn't have a good time. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I tried to get ready for Shattered Space, and I was like, I cannot. I just can't play this game. And then the way that the Shattered Space DLC landed and was reviewed by the community, I didn't miss out on anything. I didn't miss out on anything. So I hope South of Midnight is 60 FPS. I think South of Midnight is, after Stalker 2, it's what I'm most excited to see from Xbox. Now, I know Stalker 2 is not first party, but it is a timed exclusive. So Stalker 2 and South of Midnight are the two things I'm looking forward to the most. And Doom the Dark Ages. Yeah. Yeah. A question here from Joker Quinn. Did you see the reports of Sony not backing down from PC PSN requirement? They basically shrugged off the backlash because they don't see PC as their primary demographic. If there has ever been proof that, like, I read through Destin Legary's tweet about how, like, platforms are thinking differently about exclusives, and I read through his tweet yesterday and just eviscerated it because it was so bad faith and intentionally structured to bait corrections, and then because he gets corrected on his bad faith, disingenuous tweet, he claims that everybody gets really upset. And it's like, no, they were correcting you because your tweet was made in bad faith. You knew what you were doing. Bunch of false equivalency buffoonery. And if you've ever needed proof that PlayStation is not leaning towards day and date with their big tentpole titles, as Herman Hull said earlier this year, all you've got to do is look at their attitude about requiring the PSN requirement. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Oh, people are mad? That's fine. Yeah, we're going to still require it. Yeah. They don't see that as a primary target. It's additive to them. It's totally additive. It's like, no, that's fine. People can get angry. Yeah. We want people to be able to play our game safely, and we're gonna keep doing this. You know. And they're getting new customers from somewhere. You can't say that everybody who bought a PS5 only came from Xbox or Nintendo or never had a console before, or never had a gaming setup before. They're getting new customers from somewhere. You can't tell me that the 20 million people out of the 65 million people that own a PS5, 20 million of them didn't have a PS4. Well, these people came from somewhere. You can scream and seethe and maul and say PC Master Race all you want. You want to embarrass yourself, go right ahead. These people came from somewhere. And I don't think they would say, this is our plan with bringing our big titles over to PC, if it wasn't working. I think they have evidence that it's working, which is why Herman Hull said what he said. Catwalk Gifts, remember, you guys are really going to fall behind this week. If you want a Friday night celebration or a Friday afternoon celebration, we are way behind. You needed 100 yesterday, you needed 200 today. We're not even going to end at 100. You're going to have to kick it in a high gear, put out the bat signal. That's why I always tell people, make sure and celebrate your membership renewals. Those count. We don't just need gifted. Sometimes we just need a bunch of people to celebrate their renewals. Yo, it's good, Jay. Safety has nothing to do with the PSN account when they literally require it for single-player games. For sure. Doom, I'm not saying that I buy what he said. I've been critical of the PSN requirement. But them requiring the PSN requirement and just like shrugging off the negative response on Steam, it just goes to show you, they don't give a frick about your platform. They don't give a frick about you. You're not going to get their big titles day and date. They don't care about you. They're just throwing it over there to make money off of you and to try to coax a bunch of you over. People unwilling to sign up for PSN accounts are not the target consumer. Exactly, Eugene's like, oh, you don't want to make a PSN account? That's fine. You're not our target consumer anyway. Yo, Dylan with the 32-month renewal bumps the line to 57. The Slim being 380 is a crazy good deal for the holidays. I'm telling you, dude. Everybody wants to make their predictions and their analysis. I kept telling people, I'm like, PlayStation's not going to slow down. Like, oh, they went down 17% on hardware. Yeah, down from like 175% up. They dropped their Pro at 700, and now their base unit over the holidays is going to be 380. Like, Jiminy Christmas. That's a heck of a strategy. Anybody's like, yo, that 700's too much. No problem. It's no problem at all. We got this thing over here for 380. Why waste money on the Slim? Just get a Pro? I think because people have zero problem getting the thing that does the good job. They don't need the great. They don't need the excellent, the best. They just need the thing that's doing a good job. They're fine with it. Plenty of people are fine with that. Paris Lilly went and got to look at South of Midnight. He says it's running on Unreal 4 and is targeting 60 frames per second on Series X and S. Unreal 4 is another reason I'm going to say that I'm confident to go back to the question, like, will South of Midnight be 60? The fact that it's in Unreal 4 gives me confidence. Ubisoft's Project U is back to the drawing board after 5 years of development. Surprise, surprise. A live service shooter. It was even cooperative. It was like a PvE cooperative. Look what they did. They had 5 years of development. They've had testing. They've had people coming in and playing it. It said they believe that that the project, and they moved it back into incubation with a new producer and a small team to explore new ideas. It's difficult to see how the game would succeed. And y'all think Fair Games and Marathon have a shot. Ubisoft had a live service shooter. It was PvE, you know, it was showing promise, and they're like, we just don't see how it could last. Go back to the drawing board. You know? There was no need to scrap it. It did need changes and improvements. It sounds like they're going to take it down to the studs and examine whether or not it can come to the market. You know? So, guys, thanks so much. Thanks so much for a huge day. Still so many of you here smashing like and adding to the member count with your renewals and your gifteds. We're getting Towerborn 2 has an update out, and the Xbox Era did some coverage of it. Another question here from Insomniac Black says, did you see the Reforge gameplay trailer from Gamatsu? I know you like rogues. There's a new anime-like one with the Genshin art style, but not a gacha. Would you play it? Well, let's check out what you're talking about here. Reforge? Is this what do you... Let's check this out. This is a fast-paced action roguelike where you play as an adult trapped in the 1000th game you bought but never played. Okay. Yo, what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. What do you mean? Lono's a huge anime fan. I see there's at least 2 reasons to play this game. I actually am interested in rogues that lean into this. Lean into frenetic, melee-based, like third-person combat. That isn't shooting. Because, like, you've got Returnal. We've got Atomic Picnic from Asmongold's publishing company. I don't know about this one, though. I'm not seeing combat that would necessarily appeal to me. It seems like it's almost like a 1v1 combo-based style combat. You know what I mean? It could win me over if there's lots of parries and dodges, because now you've got my attention. This robot fight, yeah, I'm seeing some perfect parries, some perfect blocks. Okay. Yeah, this sequence here has me interested. Lone Wolf says, I think it's obvious why Avowed isn't 60, it's UE5. Yeah, this could be a fun game. As far as if the abilities and stuff are cool. I'll add that one to my wish list. That one doesn't even have a release window yet. So pretty much only like rogues as add-on content. The only time I ever got into one was for that. Reminds you of ZZZ combat-wise. It looks like a fighting game with extra steps. Until they got to the boss. Like, once they got to the boss, they had my attention. I was like, okay, this actually looks like it could be pretty fun. No, it wasn't a gacha. That was a rogue. Avowed being 30 FPS is an absolute disaster. Yeah. Sometimes my genius frightens me. Now, why would somebody do that? Yeah, Mandel, I just read through that report. Do I think Sony will have a showcase this year? The current rumor is that there's going to be a PlayStation showcase the first week of December, or maybe the second week, to celebrate their 30th anniversary. And that's when we're finally going to have a bunch of the first-party studios kind of come out and start showing stuff again. Based on what Hiroki Totoki said about how when we get into the next fiscal year, there's going to be big single player games. You're going to get, he said it plural, you're going to be getting big single player games every year. That to me is lining up a little bit with like an end of the year showcase where they bring out all the games. They basically would bring out games and be like, here are the 2 big ones you're getting next year, with which Ghost of Yote is going to be one of them. And then whatever in the world they've got for 2026, maybe they would show us, you know. That the current rumor and the current thing that I've been told is that there's going to be a 30th anniversary showcase in December, and then that's when we're finally going to hear from all these first-party studios. That's what I have been told. That's been claimed publicly. That's not even like a secret. Detective Siege claimed it publicly. I believe other people have claimed it publicly. Oh, I know what Alt F4 does, Butters. He was changing what it did. So Alt F4 would capture the last 60 seconds of gameplay. I thought he was making it to where like, oh man, something really cool happened. I better capture gameplay, and then you accidentally close the game down. Like, I thought that's what he was doing. Instead, he's going to capture something that would make him rage quit. If they drop a Venom expansion for Spider-Man 2 for the 30th anniversary. Yeah, but they said there's no plans DLC for Spider-Man 2, which is like the weirdest thing. I still don't get that. I think they looked at the finances of it, and they looked at like Miles Morales, and I think they decided that DLC's not worth it. I don't think the Spider-Man 1 DLC did all that well. And so I think they decided maybe whatever they were working on, let's say it's a Venom thing, maybe Venom is going to drop like a Miles Morales game. It's going to be like a $40 game, and they probably are confident they'll make more money on that. Use the existing assets and the city and the moves and give them a skill tree. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. None of these Xbox games, which are 30 FPS, have any right to be 30. Like, where's all the power going? There's a part of me that firmly believes this, Doom. If you can't get the game to be 60 on the Series S, I believe that they're basically like, you have to launch at 30 and then later you can add 60. I think they want performance parity at launch. I mean it. I think there's a clause somewhere that states that. Indiana looks amazing. I think there are parts of it that look very good, but I still think the combat and the interactions just look so not good. They've nailed the tone and feel. There's elements of the game that I'm like, that looks really fun. But then there's other elements from like, oh, the combat, the punching, the whip swinging. It's just, a lot of it just looks so bad. It just looks bad. It looks really clunky and awkward. And then there's other times where I'm like, hey, this looks great. Swags with 35 months. And there we go. Customization, redirect. Looks like a VR game. And I said earlier that it looking like a VR game could be in its favor. VR games always look funky in trailers, and then when you play them, they feel totally fine, for the most part. And then others don't. You know what I mean? Others don't, so. All right, I'm going to spam a link in chat. We're going to go ahead and head to the writer's room. I'm not doing a big countdown today. We're just going to go. Thanks so much for being a member, and thanks so much for supporting the channel. If you're doing a paid membership, consider upgrading to Member Plus. If you're on a gifted membership, same deal. The $6 membership supports me directly, and it really helps get us out of that super dependency on gifteds, and also makes room for others in the gifted pool. If you're watching the main stream, it's coming to an end. I'm going to redirect people to the writer's room. If you want to continue with us, click join and pick Member Plus. I'm going to end that stream and redirect folks over, and I'm going to change that thumbnail because we are no longer live.